2/3 of us here today. Myself, Matt Miller, and the always ugly Justin McGovern. What's going on, ugly man?
Yep, got a face for radio, as some may say. Which, by the way, it's a good thing we have the. I actually joked about this in the last episode that we recorded. I actually joked. I was like, "Hey, good thing we have this podcast up on Apple and Spotify now. You can listen to us without having to see us."
Yeah. Which I don't think we have that great of voices either. So just ugly all around, I guess. Um, so we have a long show ahead, going over our first round mock draft. The draft is in 11 days. And Justin, guess what?
We have a special show for you.
We do. We are also apparently not live on X, so those issues continue. Um,
No, we are live on there.
okay, well, welcome, people of X. We haven't had you in a while. I'm in a different thing, and it's telling me we don't have access. So, um, Justin, first overall pick, pretty set on that one. Everybody's
Yeah,
if you bet against this pick, I think you're just gonna start losing money. So Fernando
I
Mendoza seems
I actually believe you're not able to bet against this at this point. I don't think the odds are up there any longer.
but Fernando Mendoza going first overall, I don't think there's any secret to that. Things start taking off a little bit. I mean, I've not for us because the three of us have the same pick, but I think a lot of mock drafts from guys who get paid millions and millions of dollars to go over this kind of stuff. Um, they're all over the board with this one, but it's between two: David Bailey and Arvel Reese. I think at this point it's pretty safe to say David Bailey's going there.
Yeah. I think we saw earlier this week we saw a massive. We don't read into the Vegas odds of a lot of things, but when you see a massive odds shift to a certain player, you could probably guess at some point they know something. So, yeah, significant odds shift to David Bailey to the Jets. And actually, when I just last checked, it's now off the board too. So it sounds like they're going with him. David Bailey, just he's coming off one of the best pass rusher seasons in college football history. So, he was absolutely incredible all year. One of the most productive pass rushers you can get. Really, there's really not a flaw to this guy. Like he is very, very good. So the Jets really get themselves that surefire number one pass rusher.
I mean, the writing was on the wall when they traded away Jermaine Johnson, right? So they were going to take an edge rusher regardless. Um, they just happened to get the best one. David Bailey, just a beast. On to pick number three, and this is where our mock draft starts to get a little hairy. Justin, who are the Cardinals going to take? By the way, before you do that pick, we do not do trades because we don't have any true inside sources. We aren't able to predict trades accurately. So we don't do trades in our mock drafts. We kind of go by position. We do expect actually a decent amount of trades in this draft. So that being said, Justin, Arizona Cardinals. Who are they going with?
Yeah. By the way, I guess we'll talk about our scoring system real quick as well. We get 1 point for correct player, position, team, all of that. Draft position. If we get the correct draft position, but not the team, or we get the correct player and on the correct team but wrong draft position, those are both. We score those at half a point. So we'll see which of the three of us end up on top there. This is really where, like you said, this is where the draft gets really interesting because you got a situation here where Mendoza's off the board. He's one of the top blue chip prospects in this draft. The other blue chip prospects are Jeremiah Love, a running back, Sonny Styles, a non pass rushing linebacker, and Caleb Downs, a safety. All three are very low value positions in the NFL, but at the same time, you could get a talented player. So you could see one of those three go as high as the Cardinals at three. Ultimately, I think they go more for positional value here, going with Francis Mauigoa out of Miami. I think some people even have Spencer Fano ahead of him, but I see Mauigoa as the top tackle in this class. And I think we're starting to see a trend of him rising up on these other mock drafts. We are on it early in the process. Um, Cardinals desperately need a better offensive line, especially because they're going to be doing the Tua experiment now. So you got to keep that guy protected. And yeah, this is the best pick for that situation.
I went a different route, and I you went a little faster on the exit than I had anticipated. Um, I went a different route. I went with one of the top overall players in this draft, Arvell Reese. Something still needs to be done on this defense for the Cardinals. I think their offense is moving in the right direction now that they got Kyler Murray out of there. Because let's be honest, Kyler Murray only plays well until Call of Duty comes out. So now they can get a quarterback who will play the entire season and not just the first month. Um, but I don't think they're going to get that here. Arvell Reese, I think they're going to be playing one of those old school games of football where they have a stud receiver. They're I can imagine they're going to try to get a running back. There's a bunch of running backs that could go in the second round. Um, and they have their offensive line started the past couple of years from various draft picks. But now I think it's time to get a pass rusher in there. I think they're at the point now where they have a decent defense. They could just sit on the clock and win a few extra games. Um, so I think they go Arvell Reese and Tones, intern Tones, who could not join us today. He shares my sentiment. Um, so we do a snake style. If this is your first time with us, we do a snake style um, where I'll go twice, Justin goes twice, kind of thing. So moving on to the Titans, Tennessee Titans, new uniforms, new everything. I think this is where you see Jeremiah Love going. I don't know how to say this any other way. I think the Titans loved Love. Um, he came into the building, he impressed them, he loved the building. They get a new stadium, they have a young quarterback. Their defense is still solid. They could go offensive line, but I think they're still reeling from Derrick Henry leaving, and I think this is not going to be the same kind of player. But I mean, Marcus Freeman came out and said, with Jeremiah Love, you can play him at wide receiver, you can play him at defensive back, you can play him at running back. He's a very versatile kind of player, so they can mix him in different packages that you may not see other running backs out there. So I think Jeremiah Love adds a new element to this offense and takes a lot of the pressure off of Cam Ward. Before I go over to you, Justin, I'm going to go back to Tones. Tones, oh, that's you. Tones decided to echo me and go Jeremiah Love as well. So Justin, I kind of told the world what you were doing.
They can see it anyways. Um, but yeah, so Arvell Reese is still on the board at this point, and I think that's just too much value to pass up for the Titans. So they go get themselves a top edge rusher. Robert Sala is now their head coach, someone who very much values the defensive side of the ball. Arvell Reese fits that mold of that defensive leader that he always loves to have. So that's why I think the Titans go with him here. And then
Keep it
moving on
rolling.
to the New York Football Giants. We finally see one of these blue chip prospects go off the board. Caleb Downs goes to the Giants. The Giants have just they have not had a dominant back end presence in such a long time. And I think finally you look at where they are. We know John Harbaugh is not going to overthink of a safety. Just recently, drafting why is his name escaping me with the Ravens? Williams, I think is his last name. But yeah, drafting Williams, the safety with the Ravens a few years ago. We kind of see a repeat here. You
Hamilton.
got a top safety on the board. Hamilton, Kyle Hamilton. That's what it was. Why did I think Williams?
I was like Williams. I don't think there's a Williams on that team.
But yeah, so drafting Kyle Hamilton with the Ravens. Now he could see Caleb Downs as one of the leaders of his defense here. The Giants have a very talented trio of pass rushers. It's time to get the back end of the defense going.
Tones tells us that Carnell Tate is going to go here. And I think that's a solid pick for them because if you put Jackson Dart with Cam Scattaboo and you put Carnell Tate there, I think that offense is maybe not to where you would love it, but definitely in the right direction. Um, they still have a lot of work to do offensively, but that's a great start. However, another blue chip prospect fills a team need, Sonny Styles. Um, John Harbaugh got the tail end of Ray Lewis, like the last few years of Ray Lewis, and I think he really wants an anchor in that defense. And you can't go wrong with Downs or Styles, but I think Styles fills such a big need. They were putting who's the edge rusher from Penn State that they picked up last year, 2 years ago? I'm blanking on his
Abdul
name.
Carter.
Yeah, they were putting Abdul Carter at middle linebacker on a lot of rushes. I think with the rumor that Thibodeau is on his way out of New York and Dexter Lawrence is on his way out of New York, they're going to need Carter's services definitely on that line. So I think to fill this void, they go Sonny Styles, who can cover like a safety. He can blitz like one of the best linebackers out there. He's just kind of a versatile player. Um, so I think Sonny Styles is the direction they go. However, moving on to the Browns, I do think that the Browns take Carnell Tate. Um, I think that they definitely need some help offensively. Defensively, there's a couple positions they could look at, but probably not here. Offensive line is rubbish. They lost their top three guys, but they didn't really have anyone who could really catch the ball last year. And if Shador Sanders is the answer in Cleveland, he's going to need a number one receiver. And I don't think there's a much better number one in this draft than Carnell Tate. And just doesn't really have to move here very far either.
Pro
Um,
Bowl quarterback Shador Sanders.
it's a weird thing to say.
It really is. I think we
Tones
mentioned on each mock draft by now.
Tones goes offensive line. Francis Mauigoa. I think at this point we figure him to be the first tackle taken. So, but Justin, who do you see the Browns taking?
I think the intern is on to something here. But of course, Francis Maligoa is already off the board in my mock
Mm-hmm.
draft. But fortunately, there's another top tackle available, Spencer Fano. Really big tackle out of Utah. The Browns just desperately need offensive line help. I mean, they had one of the best offensive lines in the NFL just a few years ago, and it has fallen apart spectacularly. And so it's just time for the Browns to address it. They need to get someone in there that's going to protect. I know receivers starting around, but you can address that later in the draft. It's a very deep receiver class. So I see the Browns going with offensive tackle here. And then we move. Oh,
I
yes.
I was just gonna say. I mean, you really have to protect your Pro Bowl quarterback, Shador Sanders.
Yes, yes. Pro Bowl quarterback Shador Sanders. He made the Pro Bowl without any protection. Now, now you get him some bigger, meatier men in front of him,
Bigger meteor man.
and and now just see what he does. I mean, he already made the Pro Bowl, so I mean, who knows what's next? But we go to the Commanders. I think the
who who
Commanders
who released new uniforms today?
did they?
It's
I didn't
the
see that.
same as the two nicknames ago. Red. Can't say that already.
Oh!
Can't say that one. Washington's nickname two versions ago. Um, they're
What was it
echoing that
again?
design. I'm not. I can't. We can't. We
There might be
can't
some
say that.
people that don't know.
Red
Okay, fine.
Wolves.
That would have been such a better name. Or the Wild Hogs.
They kept
Why
the
didn't they
black
do a better one?
they kept the black uniforms and put a spear through the W, and I was like, is that really doing anything at this point? Like, you're the Commanders, like that doesn't really go anymore, you know?
They don't know what they want to be. They
No.
really don't. But at the same time, the Commanders have invested a lot into their roster. Had an awful year injury wise last year, so everything kind of fell apart a little bit. But still a good enough roster that this team definitely has the capability of taking in one of these blue chip prospects. I think Caleb Downs is probably the first one they would want, but he's off the board here. Jeremiah Love, though, is the next best option. He, like you said, you mentioned a lot about him earlier, how talented he is. And really, the Commanders have lacked a true presence of running back in some time. I think you can really get Jaden Daniels some more support when he's not the only one having to run the ball. The Commanders keep trying all these random guys and old washed up running backs. It's just time for them to go and just get themselves a true blue chip prospect at running back in Jeremiah Love.
What does the intern say? The intern goes Caleb Downs. And I'm inclined to echo that as well. I think another blue chip prospect off the board here. It just seems like a great fit. I mean, you when you look at the Commanders, you think Sean Taylor, and they really haven't had that kind of presence back there since his unfortunate passing. So I think this will be their anchor back there, and I think this is one of their biggest flaws from like why they weren't the same team last year and why they're picking seventh is they didn't really have that guy back there to hold things down. And it just seems like Caleb Downs and Washington just go together like peanut butter and jelly or
Um,
rising
yeah, I
gas
mean,
prices.
for real. But yeah, like we all three of us have had him going to the Commanders at some point during this mock draft process. I think if he doesn't go to the Giants like I had him, I think the Commanders are definitely the next leading candidate to grab him.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going much further than that. Like he's definitely not
I,
making it
I
out of the
don't
top 10, but
I don't think he's making it beyond the Commanders.
yeah. I think if he's there, they're taking him. If he's not there, they're gonna look a different route. But yeah, I like he's just super talented. It's hard to pass up that kind of talent. And some of the other teams up there have decent safeties, so like they definitely won't be taking him. But moving on to the Saints. The Aints as of late. Uh I have Ruben Bain here. I don't think that the short armed argument is going to hold a whole lot of water. I think that once he's taken, he's going to come out with a vengeance, and he may not be the best defensive end in the league, but I think he's going to be very serviceable for them. Um, so I got the Aints taking Ruben Bain. The intern has chosen the same thing. It seems like he's just copying me at this point. So, uh, but I mean, like it's a big need. Um, they desperately need a pass rush. They really haven't been the same kind of before, but I mean, kind of since Hendrickson left. I mean,
Yeah.
he did okay there. Um, Cam Jordan has been kind of doing it on his own for since the whole Cam Jordan Cameron fiasco of the draft. um, but Justin, who is your pick in
Yeah.
this spot?
The funny thing is, I had Ruben Bain in this spot for a while too, so we'll see if I come to regret that. I kind of thought about it again, and the Saints are one of those teams that really they don't have a blue chip prospect on any part of the roster right now. Like I feel like they have a lot of decent players. They don't have a great player. So Sonny Styles, the last of the blue chip prospects in this draft, is still available. And I think maybe they go with him, get themselves a top presence on defense.
That would be kind of like I don't know. I didn't pick that obviously, but I can see that happening. Like that he just another one of those like peanut butter and jelly things, or like maybe a banana and peanut butter. Like you can see it happening, but like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
just it does seem like another good fit.
yeah, and kind of brings back memories of Jonathan Vilma on that defense.
Yeah, yeah. Geez, what a pool.
That
Haven't
was a
heard that name in a
throwback.
long time.
For real. We move on to the Chiefs. One of the positions the Chiefs really need to address is the secondary corner in particular. They have lost their corners to the LA Rams.
Yeah,
So now they need to
most of
now
their
they need to address
secondary.
which usually when they do this, they go and draft new guys in the secondary. So that's exactly what they do here. The top corner on the board, Mansour Delane is available, so they go and snag him, the corner out of LSU.
Tones says, it's not letting me share. Hold on. Technical difficulties. Tones has same thing.
Oh, yeah.
I disagree. I think part of the reason why they are picking ninth was because they just didn't have as good an offensive line as we've seen from the Chiefs. So I think this is where Francis Mauigoa goes. Not because of talent. I think that there are other needs filled ahead of him. I don't think this is like an Orlando Pace kind of draft where they're going to go super high, but I think this is where the Chiefs decide we spent a lot of money on Patrick Mahomes. He's won us a bunch of Super Bowls. We have to protect him. They were really happy to have what's his name? Played on the Jags. Was there last year. Captain goes early.
Yeah, I can't what is his name? Um
I keep wanting to say
well
Cam Robinson, but what?
while you think of that, I mean I get that he's not going to be like an Orlando Pace type of man. That is one gift if he drops to the Chiefs. That is a gift to them. Because yeah,
I'm
I
not
mean
gonna
that
sit
that
here and uh, it's gonna come to me like after the draft.
Yeah.
or
Well,
after
well,
this. But he like got off the line early, got a lot of penalties, and they let him go. I think Maui Goa fills that need. They have Simmons on the other side. Um, so I think that they would be legit offensive line again with Maui Goa. Um, but moving on to the Bengals, a pick that we have seen, I don't know, five different guys, six if you include me putting Peter Woods there on the first mock draft. Um, but this time, I think they take the best available for the need that they have. Mansour Delane, their secondary is the reason they're in this position. Um, like their whole defense, they couldn't pay Trey Hendrickson and then also have a decent defense. So they let Hendrickson walk, and they used the money that they would have given him to revamp pretty much the entire front seven. Um, they brought in Seattle's pass rusher, um, May, not May. Yeah, it's May, right?
Mafe?
Mafe. Yeah, I was like, it's been a long week already. Um, they got another defensive tackle. It sounds like they may actually go after DJ Reader also. Um, I think they would prefer to have Caleb Downs because Dax Hill has played well at corner, and then DJ Turner has played really well. I think their their safeties are definitely questionable. Battle missed a few tackles, but the whole reason their secondary sucked was Geno Stone. Dude did not want to tackle at all. Good. Enjoy your time making money and not tackling people on a different team. Mansour Delane is the pick here, and for the first time since I feel like Adam Pac-Man Jones, they have a legit corner again. Tones, picks, Sonny Styles. I would absolutely love that. I would like. I do not like Ohio State. I don't like them at all. But it can't be denied that they had talent. Sonny Styles is really what they need instead of Barrett Carter. I think Barrett Carter being worked in is a better option than having him start. So Sonny Styles there would be electric. Um, so yeah, Justin, who do you have the Bengals getting?
So I see a top pass rusher falling to them here. Um,
Tiny little
Ruben
arms.
Bain. Ruben Bain has fallen to them here. This is as far as he goes. I think they see kind of a minor steal here. Like he's going a few picks below what he could. So the Bengals give themselves that top edge rushing presence that they need with Hendrickson gone. They got a lot of solid guys around him, but now Ruben Bain gives them the top guy. And then we go to the
I would say that a lot of people in Cincinnati would also love that pick. My argument against that is they just spent a bunch of money on a guy. They spent a high draft pick on two other guys. So I think the current top brass within the organization enjoys what they have from a roster perspective at defensive end. So that would be my only argument against that. But I mean,
yeah.
the top brass in Cincinnati isn't too smart because clearly they just botch everything they touch.
Yes, for sure. And we'll certainly hit that when we go to our Bengals preview in later this
July
offseason.
or August, whenever we do it.
Yeah, whenever it airs. But anyway, like also, I think part of it is you obviously your picks are off the board at this point, so you're kind of in that last true top 10 pick guy. Like this is next pick here is really where the draft gets even more wild and more out in the open because I feel like at this point we have a decent handle who's going top 10. But man, starting this Dolphins pick, it is just
Wide
absolutely wild.
open. Wide
There
open spaces.
there are guys that we don't even that we may not even have in the first round that could go to the Dolphins in this pick. Who knows what they're going to do? But I'm focusing on they need to address the offensive line very badly. Has been a serious problem for them for some time. I wanted to look at secondary as well. I I don't know if we're ready, if there's anyone really ready to be there. I'll kind of explain some of that a little bit later on, but so really not a great option available there. So the offensive line with Caden Proctor ends up being where they're going. He's a very high upside guy. A massive human being, 350 pounds. He down from 390 at one point.
Yeah,
Um, so
and he went to Alabama. He transferred to Iowa for like 30 days and then transferred
he
back to
had a cup of
Alabama.
coffee in Iowa and then transferred back. Maybe he saw their weight room like one time and then left.
Yeah.
Very weird situation there. But yeah, Dolphins get themselves a top offensive lineman, a position they desperately need. So um, I mean, there's a lot of needs for the Dolphins, but this is definitely towards the top.
Yeah, they need everything except for
I mean,
running
you
back,
could
I guess.
yes, except for running back. But yeah, I feel like
Um,
you can mock almost anything to them.
Tones also has a tackle. However, I went a different direction. I think that they're going to focus on their defense because they have Malik Willis at quarterback, and they that tells me if they're running with Malik Willis and Quinn Ewers that they do not care about their offense this year. No disrespect to Malik Willis. I think that he on the right team, he could be a solid guy. I don't think the Dolphins are that team. I think they are wholeheartedly in the um, whatever quarterback goes first overall next year. I would like to say it would be Manning, but there could be other quarterbacks. Dante Moore's up there. You know, there could be. They haven't had a Dan Marino type guy since Dan Marino left. The Dante Culpepper experiment failed. So I don't think they care about offense right now. I think their priority is let's make an okay defense so when we get a guy, we can at least win a game. So I went Jermod McCoy. There's some reports that he also has degenerative knees, but I think that's just people trying to push him down so they can take him. For whatever reason, it's the same excuse. Like they didn't hear that somebody had said the same thing about Caleb Downs. Like it was like a copy and paste. It's really weird. But I think McCoy goes here. They don't really have a solid corner on their roster. They got rid of everybody. Um, so they get a cover guy to not get completely embarrassed.
I still can't believe they're going. I enjoyed Malik Willis in college. I cannot believe Malik Willis is who they're going with at the moment.
I mean, I enjoyed him also. Um, I want to say he's going to do well, but I mean, just knowing how the Dolphins operate, that's not going to be a thing. Um, Moving on to the Cowboys. There's been a couple of picks that could trade back from 1 to 11, 3 to 11. Um, but at this point, I think the Cowboys are trying to move up to grab someone. For the argument's sake, we're just going to leave them at 12, and they're going to get Monroe Freeling, who they could be moving up to get anyway. It seems like he's been kind of rising up draft boards pretty rapidly, and a lot of people are really high on him to the point where some people have him in the top 10. I am not one of those people. I have him at 12, and the Cowboys break their streak of Tylers on the offensive line. Um, but it's a big need. If there's one identity that the Cowboys have, it's a good offensive line. I feel like numerous times throughout their existence, they have boasted that they have had the best offensive line, including the all-time best offensive line ever in the 90s. I think that they, since they have that identity, they're going to go offensive line here. Dak doesn't have a whole lot of time left in Dallas. And if you want to win something with him, you got to give him some blocking. So I think they go here. Tones goes with Jamal McCoy. I think that is also a good pick. I think they don't really have a corner on their roster right now that can cover anyone. They got rid of both guys, I think. Um, so Justin, we've gone offense for the Cowboys. We've gone defense for the Cowboys. Who do you think they take?
I mean, they gotta go defense here. Their offense was actually decent last year. Their defense was just absolutely awful, and I think it's very clear the Cowboys plan to address that this offseason aggressively. So I think it starts with these two first round picks. I do think they really covet David Bailey. Um, and even with the firepower they have, they may not be able to get up and get him. But I'm gonna have them sticking here 12, obviously because we don't do trades in this mock draft. But I think Keldrick Falk is another guy that they've really the Cowboys tend to telegraph what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
And they made it pretty obvious that Falk is the guy
Although
that they're a big fan of.
although they surprised everybody when they traded um what's his name?
Man, you jumped in with that with so much momentum and then
I know, I
forgot.
just like it went downhill.
Oh, when they traded Micah Parsons to
Yeah,
the
Micah
Packers.
Parsons, thanks. When
Yeah,
they traded him, it was like nobody had that on their bingo card.
yeah, that's why they have another first round pick. Why we'll be
Yeah.
talking about the Cowboys again. Um, but yeah, I think they made it pretty obvious that he is a player they like and he's available here, so they go with him. And also just fits the board as well. The best edge rusher still available at this point, so really just works all around. And then we go to the Rams. The Rams saw one of their best offensive linemen retire this offseason. Matt Stafford, it could be his last year any day now. You've got to make sure that he is protected. I'm not even saying that to be sarcastic. Like
Well,
Matt
I know
Stafford,
just the way you said it. It's
the Matt Stafford retirement rumors have been going on for like 4 years now.
yeah.
Um, or ever since they won the Super Bowl. After that, there's basically been like, oh, this could be the offseason he could retire. But so they need to make sure he's protected, make sure he gets through the whole year. I think we're pretty close to the last ride for him, and they are looking to get one more Super Bowl before he retires. How to do that is to make sure he is protected. You mentioned Freeling before, a guy who's rapidly rising up the board down the stretch here. I think that's where the Rams are going here is get themselves a top offensive tackle.
Intern Tones decides to go with Makai Lemon. And I echo that. I looked at their depth chart. It's not great outside of Matt Stafford and their running backs and Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams. When you look at their receivers, they have Jordan Whittingham. Do you even know who that is?
Not a lot of people do.
Do you know who uh, Kanata Mumfield is?
Mm,
Brennan
no,
Presley?
I think Mumfield played for Pitt.
Xavier Smith? These are the guys that are immediately behind Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams. So that's why Tones and I are going with a receiver here. You said it. Stafford is getting older. He can retire any day now. Um, I think that Puka Nakua is solid in at like definitely the short routes. He's elite at those. You send him deep. He's not the tallest guy in the world, but he will get the job done. He's a very fantastic receiver. Devontae Adams, not the same Devontae Adams that we saw in Green Bay. In fact, when he left Green Bay, he really wasn't the same guy. Did okay, but they need a deep threat. Someone that's just going to be wide open, standing downfield, going, "Hey, they can't guard all of us." Um, and I think Lemon is that guy. You get an LA guy. They're definitely all about the LA mindset out there. So you get a local guy, you get people back to the stadium, and you give Stafford a guy that can mask some of the downfield issues that this team has had. I mean, they had to play dip and dunk football for a while. So have them going receiver. I also
I've been seeing a lot of receiver to the Rams. So I'll give the counterpoint and why my pick ended up being offensive line.
it's rubbish,
I
dude.
think you mentioned the issues behind the top two, but still you have a stud top two. And my other point is that this is a very deep receiver class. I don't see a huge difference between number 1 and number 10 in this class. I think the Rams are going to end up finding themselves some good secondary receivers that could be the third and fourth guys later on in this draft. I actually think it's possible they draft multiple receivers. I think that's why it's been a popular pick because, of course, they're scouting guys. They're scouting guys at receiver because that is a position they want to address. But ultimately, I think it ends up being the Rams getting a receiver later on in
I
comparison
don't
to the
think they
first
can
round.
go wrong either way.
Yeah,
I think,
for sure. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm
yeah,
just saying
yeah,
like
you are.
this is
Get out
this
of
is
here, Justin.
why my mock ended up the way it was, basically.
Um, moving on to the Ravens, formerly the Cleveland Browns. Had to throw that one out there.
Art Bedell.
uh, I have him going a receiver here. Granted, it is that time where we start hearing lies. We heard what's his name, McCoy having degenerative knees already. We're going to start hearing a lot more rumors over the next few days after we get off air. Um, I've been hearing a lot for a while now that the Ravens love Jordan Tyson. And it makes sense. They need receiving help. Lamar Jackson, he is getting older. His legs aren't going to be able to save him forever. So he's going to have somebody to throw to. They have a few good receivers, but I mean, you can never have too many receivers that are good. So I think this is one of those picks where they're just like, you know what, we're all in again. Let's make sure that our offense can put up some serious points this year, and I think they can do that with Jordan Tyson. Intern Tones decided to pick the same pick. So at this point, he is copying me. Uh,
He's copying one of us. Like he took each of our mocks and seemingly put whichever preference he had.
yeah, I mean,
He's not here to defend himself, so it's fun to talk about this.
he has said occasionally that his weeks have been spicy. So, I mean, you kind of get a feel after a while of where some of these guys go, and I feel like that's one of the landing spots that he could go to. That just makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, I'm just messing around. But Justin, who do you have the Ravens taking?
Yeah, so I'm going with a fast riser here. The Ravens really need to address the defense. I know Lamar is getting older. Last year was by far the least amount of rushing yards he had in the season. But ultimately, the biggest issue for the Ravens last year is the fact that their defense just fell off a cliff. And there's many reasons why. There's many positions they could address here. They could look at an edge rusher, or in my case, they end up looking at a corner because they've seen their secondary kind of drop off in recent years. Um, so I'm going for rapid riser up the boards. Chris Johnson out of San Diego State. He is a guy who, when you turn on the tape, like he was an absolute dog there. Could take on guys one on one, shut them down. If I'm remembering correctly, did not give up a single touchdown his senior year. And I think the biggest questions of him: what was the athleticism going to look like? And he absolutely showed out in the combine and as pro day. So now those questions are out, and he is going up quick. It was between him and McCoy here, and ultimately, I think Johnson ends up getting the edge. And of course, pretty cool coming out of San Diego State. It, again, just goes to show you don't have to transfer to get yourself drafted high.
Justin's rankings do not reflect that of the rest of the show. Um,
Hey, no, I think get ready. He's going to go higher than what you guys think.
I know for a fact, not a fact, I guess, but I've been hearing a lot of rumblings that the Packers definitely want him in the second round.
Well, good luck because he's not going to be available.
um, Tampa.
Oh yes, yes. I forgot about the back to back here for a moment. The Buccaneers. There's so many ways the Buccaneers could go, and I flipped around with this a lot. Like, ultimately, I had to think about what are the Buccaneers going to do. There's things I want them to do. I want them to address the defense because that's been their major problem area. But for whatever reason, the Buccaneers just love to continue to add to the offense in the first round every year. Last year, they surprised us with taking Emeka Ibuka in the first round. And this year, they might do the same thing. They don't have a true top tight end. They see Kenyon Sadiq sitting there out of Oregon, a real mismatched weapon. I think they see him and go, you know what? We could use him. And then here we go. They surprise us by taking an offensive player again.
Yeah, I mean that would be a good fit. Intern Tones decided to go with Keldrick Falk. I had Falk here for a while, so I understand that pick quite a bit, but I decided to go a different route. And the reason why I went a different route is because I see a lot of things from Falk that would say that he is very similar to Shamar Stewart. I think that a lot of people don't want that, especially since he didn't have the best production. What did he have, like 2 sacks last year? Um, I don't think that a lot of people want that, and a lot of defensive lines are built on an elite guy who can get sacks, a guy who can a defensive end that can stop the run, a nose tackle that can blow up the backfield, and a different position defensive tackle that can be out there 3 downs. And I think that guy can be Peter Woods. I think this is kind of the top area where you can see him go. And I think they're just so desperate for defensive linemen that like I don't see any other edge rushers getting up this high. So I think that they could be a candidate to move back. Um, Collect a few extra picks, try to bolster defense and offense because Sadiq isn't the only good tight end in this draft. We actually see a few good tight ends here as well. So I think talent wise, Peter Woods can help them and they can get offense and defensive end later. Moving on to the Jets. Jets, 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 Jets. Um, they are very high on Omar Cooper Jr. And there's not a whole lot to hate about the guy. Helped win a national championship for the Hoosiers. Um, I think that would just make a lot of sense. It seems like Garrett Wilson may find himself on a new team within the next couple years. So they're going to need a guy for their next quarterback, whoever that may be. Dante Moore, which would be funny if they ended up drafting Dante Moore because he went back specifically not to go to them. Um, and then they already went defense. I think they go offense here. Looks like you had a similar thinking.
Yeah, I think I'm going offense in this one as well. The Jets see Carnell Tate available and snag him up. It feels like a far drop for Tate, but in all reality, I think this is kind of where it ends up with receivers. Receivers are it's a very fun position to talk about. I mean, let's face it, when a fan base sees a receiver get mocked to their team, they get excited. It's one of the most exciting positions to talk about. But I think usually, and that's why you see receivers tend to go higher in mock drafts than they actually do in real life.
Unless you're
So that's
like
kind of what I'm,
Marvin Harrison Jr. or
yeah,
Jamar
like a
Chase,
sure,
Justin Jefferson.
right, like a surefire. Well, Justin Jefferson actually went in the 20s.
That's true.
But like a surefire, like top guy like that. Otherwise, you usually see them kind of drop a little bit. Um, teams end up teams themselves want to focus on what can we get on defense? Defense is harder to hide. A bad defense is harder to hide than a bad offense in the NFL. And so that's why receivers kind of fell a little bit in my mock draft. But the Jets take advantage here. They want a receiver and get themselves a top one in Carnell Tate. Just to finally get whoever their quarterback is a top weapon. Obviously, the past it was Ty Simpson in the spot, but I think at this point it has become a consensus, except for Dan Orlovsky, that Ty Simpson is not a first round quarterback. So I dropped him out of that spot. And now, whoever their quarterback is, if it's Geno Smith part two, how in the world that thing is getting run back, I have no idea. Um, but that is where it looks like the Jets might go. So, but yeah, they get themselves a top receiver. And then we go to
Tones,
the
tones,
Detroit.
tones. Went Spencer Fano.
I was supposed to go back to back.
Yeah, and you didn't allow intern Tones to do his Jets pick.
Okay. So you actually put me in
Yeah.
front of the intern. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now I got it.
Justin
We're
Justin
gonna
is a good representation of people who do not follow instructions. uh Actually I was the one that didn't follow instructions. Justin didn't follow along at all. Um
the
Go ahead.
Lions. So they need an offensive lineman. They definitely defense and offensive lines really the main areas they can look. They've been hit with just a lot of guys retiring. And that was really the foundation of what they built the Motor City Dan Campbell era on, was having a strong offensive line. Now all of a sudden you're seeing guys gone right and left, so they're going to need to use multiple picks to address that position. Caleb Lomu out of Utah becomes the top guy left on the board here, so they go ahead and snag him up.
I agree with the position. Uh Tones, I'm not good.
Don't
Um
forget the intern again.
he agrees with you. Same pick. Um
Okay.
I agree with the position, same school even. But this is where I have Spencer Fano going. Um I feel like we've seen, maybe not you, but I've definitely seen the Utah tackles falling further than I expected. I do have Fano as a top 10 talent, but I think some of the team needs for the teams in front of them show me that he's going to fall, and the Lions would be very happy to pick him up. They definitely need someone um, on that offensive line. I mean, Penei Sewell can't be five positions.
That would be an absolute steal if they got him there.
Yeah, for sure. Um, moving on to the Vikings. And I think this is one of those picks, in my opinion, that is like peanut butter and jelly. Again, Dylan
Tiedemann.
Thieneman. I
Tiedemann.
butchered it last time. I was making an effort this time to not butcher it. It just seems like he would be perfect for the Vikings. And I think they love him going here as well. He's not really a blue chip talent like Caleb Downs, but definitely up there. Like he's going to be a solid guy for years. And Harrison Smith somehow keeps kicking, but I think that they find his replacement here. Tones has the same pick.
And we all have the same position. We very clearly pinpointed a need here for the Vikings, but it's not just the need they have, but also the fact that obviously while Tiedemann and my pick, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, obviously they're not at the same level as Caleb Downs, but if you were to just strictly rank prospects, you might have three safeties in the top 10. All three of these guys are absolute studs. But of course, placing them in these mocks is very difficult because safety is not a high demand position. But the Vikings feel like a team that could really use one. Obviously they could play next to, play next to him as you mentioned earlier. But yeah, Emmanuel McNeil Warren is another stud safety in this class. It's really going to be about like which one the Vikings prefer. So I decided to go a different route than you two. But McNeil Warren, I mean, he is a action guy. Obviously, we're a very action podcast, so we're very excited to see him. And of course, drafting a Toledo defensive back has been the formula of winning a Super Bowl. Back-to-back years of a team drafting one and then winning the Super Bowl immediately after. So the Vikings might be hoping for that. And again, another showing that you don't have to transfer to get drafted high.
You can go on to the next pick.
Oh yes. Well, we mentioned Dylan Tiedemann, and he does not stay on the board much longer. The Carolina Panthers, another team that could end up looking at a safety here. Really, in general, the Panthers defense just needs some more talent. I think they've started to figure out the offense at this point, but the defensive side is what's lacking. We saw that in their playoff loss to the Rams, where I mean, their defense just could not come up with a stop pretty much most of the game. So they need to get talent there, and they grabbed the best talent off the board.
For me, well, Tones. We'll start with Tones, just so we don't forget him.
Yep.
He decided to go with Caden Proctor. I think that's a good one. Um, that would create a log jam at tackle, in my opinion. I did go same position, but I think that they take Lamu and move him to guard. I think the formula to success at guard at the interior offensive lineman, maybe not center, I guess, but definitely guard, is taking a stud tackle and moving him in one position. It feels like the best guards are former college tackles, and I feel like Lamu is the best one of the tackles that can be moved inside. Um, so I think the Panthers could move him around a little bit if there's injuries or whatever. But I think their plan would be to take him and move him to guard. Um, moving to the Cowboys' second pick, I have them taking Tennessee corner Colton Hood. I don't think you can really go wrong with either Tennessee corner. I think McCoy is valued a little bit more than Hood is, but I think Hood is also a first round talent. Um, the intern chose Hakeem Mesidor, the old man from Miami. I think he's gonna be like 27 or 28 by the time the season.
Oh, okay, don't exaggerate, but I know he's
No, he's
25 right
legit.
now.
No, I mean I thought he was
He's
20.
25 at the moment, so maybe he'll be 26 by the time the season starts.
Um,
But yeah,
all right.
Cowboys. I think we followed the same position with the Cowboys each time, all three of us. I've got a corner as well. I have McCoy. This is where he potentially drops to. I don't think the degenerative knee thing is going to be an issue, but I do think what is the big concern is he's coming off a torn ACL. Teams are really going to want to see where he is with that, how his recovery is going. One of the biggest concerns to me is the fact that he did not run at the combine. That is something the teams are flagging. And we could very well end up, talent wise, his abilities, the way he played in 2024, he might be the top corner in this class. But we may very well end up with another situation like Will Johnson last year, where everyone thought he was going to go in the first round. And because teams got a little too worried, overthought it a little bit too much, he falls to the second round. We could very well see that with McCoy here.
Yeah, but we also
But
saw Jamar Chase not play an entire year and then not really run either. And the
yeah,
Bengals
but I mean,
took
like,
him and then
but he did not play an entire year because COVID and all that kind of weird stuff. Obviously, this was a different situation here, but I mean, for the Cowboys, if this works out, that gets in the top corner, and just like that, like you've got a much improved defense.
yeah,
So we go to the Steelers, and I think we all have the same. I noticed
we
this.
do.
This is the first time since pick number two, 21 of all picks, we have a consensus pick. Um, I did not get to look up the pronunciation of his name, the offensive guard out of Penn State, but the
Ole,
Steelers,
Oliva Vega Ione.
well done. You crushed
Thank
that
you.
word, or
Yes.
you crushed his name. But yeah, he is a massive presence on the inside. The Steelers have done a decent job, like working on their tackles, but the offensive line really just needs a top guard to really fill themselves out and get back to being able to run the ball very well. Obviously, with Mike McCarthy in there, they're going to want to throw it a little bit more. He helps with both, so I think that's a good pick for them.
Yeah, I think around the league, everyone's kind of expecting Aaron Rodgers to go back there. So why not have another guy who can block for him? Unfortunately, as a Bengals fan, I don't want to see this because this dude's a stud. Um, I think that the Steelers are just a few pieces away for annoyingly being pretty good again. Um, they were good last year, but Aaron Rodgers held that thing together. Justin, just keep it.
By the way, just thinking back for a moment, like who in the world expected the Steelers to be the only team out of the AFC North to make the playoffs last year? What a stunning collapse!
Yeah, that was an epic collapse by the Bengals, the Ravens, and I mean,
And the Steelers, for that matter, too. The only
yeah,
reason why they went was because someone had to go.
yeah, that's true. Just keep it rolling, Justin, because I just
Ooh,
all three
you're
of
giving me I'm getting a third pick in a row. All
all,
right.
all
Uh,
of us had the same pick, so you may as well
yeah.
keep it moving.
So Chargers here, Akeem Mesidor, we made jokes about how old he is earlier, even though calling a 25-year-old at our advanced ages seems um
We got a solid
very
decade on this guy.
yeah, not good. Not great for us for sure. Um But yeah, I think when in order, I think Mesidor needs to land with a team that is ready to win right away, a team that is really chasing a Super Bowl right now. And I mean, for the Chargers, they're just simply chasing a playoff win, but if they could get past that, maybe they could chase the Super Bowl as well. They got Jim Harbaugh in there. Obviously, getting tougher on the defensive line is a massive need for them. They really need a top pass rusher, and that's what they get in Mesidor.
I feel like they're a little desperate at this point just to grab something that fills a need. Um, but I like what Tones did. Tones decided to go with Omar Cooper Jr. here. If you want Justin Herbert to play like a top five quarterback, get some playoff wins, get deep into the playoffs, and see how he handles the pressure there. I don't really think it's been his fault at all. Um, he just bad luck. This franchise, outside of like a handful of Philip Rivers regular seasons, has just been kind of abysmal in the playoffs. Um, so I don't know. I feel bad for Justin Herbert, but at least in Tone's mock draft, he gets a receiver. In mine, I kind of echo you, Justin, but I go a slightly different route. I go with Keldrick Falk. I said earlier that he's a Shamar Stewart 2.0, and I think the Chargers are desperate enough to take a guy like that. I think if the Chargers don't take him, I actually do think he falls a little bit further. Um, but he has the good build. You can kind of mold him into what you want to be as a edge rusher. Um, but the Chargers, I feel like they just need something there. You know, like they're rumored to
Yeah,
pull Khalil Mack out of retirement, and he's 38.
I think they did begin to pull him out of retirement again, if I
I
remember
don't know if
correctly.
they fully signed him yet. I don't remember seeing him
Okay.
sign a contract. So unless I missed it, he's not officially on the team. Um,
And by the way, I just have to point out how funny this is because in this case here, we both went with the same position, but the style of player could not be more different in this case.
yeah, Messidor played really well in the playoff.
Yeah, he really.
Falk kind of disappointed last year. Could have been the fact that he was just kind of done with Auburn. I feel like a lot of players were. Um,
Everyone was done with Hugh Freeze there.
yeah. But moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, they need offense. Jalen Hurts is what Jalen Hurts is. You have some people who absolutely love him. You have some people who absolutely hate him. I feel like for the most part, their offense, especially last year, has really just been get the ball 9 yards and have Jalen Hurts fall over the first down line and then eventually the goal line. I think here they need to get another red zone guy. Sounds like AJ Brown may be on his way out. Doesn't look like he'll be gone for the draft. But if he definitely leaves, they're going to need a big target. And I don't think they're going to find that in a receiver build in this draft. So I think they go Kenyon Sadiq. I think that is a really good, um, it's a really good pick to kind of pat myself on the back there. Uh, Tones decides to go with the same pick.
Hmm.
Justin, who do you think the Eagles take?
I have them going in a different position here. I think the offensive line for the Eagles has been, I mean, other than play calling very clearly was their biggest problem on offense. Their second biggest problem is they're another team that's been hit with injuries, retirements, losing guys on the offensive line. So they need to build that back up. Um, this is a very interesting player, a guy who's really risen to the first round lately, and I think with good reason. I think he's got immense talent. Max E. Hawkendor out of Arizona State. He is
Yeehaw!
only
I do
Eehaw! The way it's pronounced, Eehaw! The core, the chore. Sorry, the chore, not the core. The chore. Um,
Yeehaw!
yeah. He's a very interesting tackle. Only played football for 5 years, but already has started to play at a higher level. You get him in with a franchise that can develop players like the Philadelphia Eagles, and you can see him being pretty dangerous. I definitely think he's a player they could take their chances on here and end up looking very smart for it. We go to the Cleveland Browns. I think we mentioned earlier in this mock with their first pick that they needed to look at a top receiver. They already got their lineman earlier on. Um, Again, like I mentioned earlier, receivers tend to drop in the actual draft, and they have the options available here. There's a lot of receivers to choose from in the slot. I think the Browns are one of those teams that could take their chance on Jordan Tyson here. Unfortunately, we're doing this a little over a week out from the draft, so hard to tell exactly how his upcoming physical is going to go. That is going to be a huge key for him. He is the most talented receiver in this class,
Talent
easily.
wise.
But the problem is, he has never made it through an entire college football season without missing significant time. That is a huge red flag for me. And that's why I think he ends up falling to number 24 here. But just an immense talent. I know some people that obviously knew him when he was at Colorado early in his career. Very good kid. So I'm rooting for him to be able to stay healthy, but that's going to be the big challenge for him.
Tones has something similar. He went Casey Concepcion. I don't think that is a bad pick. I've actually had Casey here uh, previously, but kind of do the same thing, but in reverse. I had Carnell Tate going early. I have Caden Proctor going here. I had Ty Simpson going here in previous drafts, but it feels like Ty Simpson may be a day two pick. So Caden Proctor fills a big need. They get a couple offensive guys to help out. So I don't think it's any secret they need a receiver and a tackle. That's blatantly obvious. Everybody knows it. Moving on to the Bears. Um, they need to stop the run a little bit better. They played really well last year. I think one of the things that kind of killed them was the run game for some of these teams. Um, Caden McDonald. Previously, I sang a song. Caden McDonald had a farm.
Oh no, not again!
uh,
Don't bring that back.
I'm bringing it back, buddy. On every sack that he has, I'm calling you with that. Um, but I mean, he's an exceptional run stopper. I don't think he's quite as good as Peter Woods, but they need defensive linemen in a bad way. Um, Other than that, I think they could be looking at Super Bowl contention. Ben Johnson has this offense clicking. That's the best I've ever seen from Caleb Williams. You could tell there were a few throws where Caleb Williams was like, you know what? I'm not going to follow the play sheet. I'm going to do my own thing. And that definitely showed. But if he can mature into just listening to what Ben Johnson has to say, uh, this team can go pretty freaking far. Um, Moving on to Tones. He has Peter Woods, so he kind of echoes that sentiment. Uh, Justin has the same pick as me.
Well, look at that, man. We actually agree on something.
Yeah, I don't think
Um,
we've really agreed in quite a while. I mean, other than the Steelers pick that all of us agreed on. We haven't agreed on hardly anything.
Yeah, we haven't agreed on anything at all. It's
Francisco
been
Mendoza out.
makes it for a good conversation, that's for sure. But
Yeah,
I think I echo a lot of what you said there about needing to address the interior of the defense. Really, that side of the ball is the next step for the Bears for sure. McDonald is really just a guy that you can rely on to be a leader in there. I have him higher than Peter Woods. Peter Woods is definitely this is probably my only opportunity to talk about him because I do not have Peter Woods in my first round. Very interesting player because if we did this last year, he was a top 5 pick. He did he is so he's showing he has really good talent, but had a pretty awful year this past year at Clemson.
I feel
So
like
it's going to be
everybody
very
at
interesting to
Clemson had an
see.
awful year, though. To be frank,
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see where he ends up with that all when it's all said and done. I took a counterpoint to you guys and had them dropping a little bit further. Um, we go to the Buffalo Bills, which of course, um, I guess I just have the helmet up there right now. We'll
yeah,
eventually
it's
have
a little
more.
off screen from what we can see.
Yeah. But anyways, the Bills I really tossed around some potential options here. Casey Concepcion or one of the edge rushers, TJ Parker and Cassius Howell, were both available here. I ultimately went with receiver. I think they've heard a lot of noise about the problems at receiver, and they're just finally ready to just take it head on and make it not a problem anymore. We obviously added DJ Moore. Now you add a true speed threat in Concepcion and really close out everything you need from this receiver room. So that's why I end up seeing them do here.
The intern went with Caden McDonald had a farm.
Also, an ideal pick because
Yeah,
the Bills definitely could use a bigger man inside.
bigger meteor man. I went slightly askew here and went Akeem Mesidor. I do think they need an edge rusher. Joey Bosa did all right. Not great, not what you want to see from a Bosa. Um, but Bills get a new stadium. I think Mesidor, if he plays anything like he did in that national championship and the semifinal, I think that he can be a force for the Bills for a few years, like an underrated defensive end here. Um,
Yeah, and this is another spot where like he fits really well because yes, he is an older guy, but this is a team that's ready to try that is currently actively pursuing a Super Bowl right now. Fits a role where he can just fill in immediately. It'll be very interesting. I think one of the other points I forgot to mention was I think a lot of the blame for the Bills' defensive struggles went on the scheme, so that's another reason why they may or may not address the defensive line. They may choose to get another edge rusher, or they may say, let's see how these guys do in a different defense.
I can see them doing a receiver here as well, but I think the fact that they got DJ Moore kind of solidifies their identity on offense, and they're just going to try to find a receiver either in this draft or in free agency afterwards that just kind of complements the other two. Um,
Yeah,
so I think to me, edge is a bigger need as opposed to finding a third receiver. Um, and Mesidor is the best available that I have. But moving on to the San Francisco 49ers, you and, well, not you, I guess a lot of people have opinions on the offensive line going here to the 49ers. Uh, I think it's a higher likelihood that we see Ayuk leave than we see Williams leave. Um, so that being said, I think this is where Casey Concepcion goes. I think the 49ers absolutely love him. It would be a nice speed threat to that offense. That I feel like Ayuk to me just disappointed in my opinion, his tenure there. I feel like he could have been a little bit better than the stats say. And I feel like Casey Concepcion can be that guy that they expected Ayuk to be. Um, the intern goes with Blake Miller, Clemson, offensive tackle. Um, Trent Williams, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with that. It doesn't sound like they have a whole lot of money to pay him more than what he's already getting paid because they got to pay a few other guys. But I feel like between Williams and Ayuk, whoever stays is going to get the bag. Um, so Tones is operating under the assumption that paying a receiver would be cheaper than paying Trent Williams like 10 more million a year. And that
Yeah,
Justin,
and very interesting too that he went with Blake Miller here. The 49ers notoriously so many injury issues. Blake Miller, and I'll touch on it a little bit more in a moment, but Blake Miller is a guy who missed one practice his entire college career. That's impressive.
yeah.
Um, so they're a good pick there by the intern. I think one of the first ones where he didn't end up with something that one of us had. Um, actually, really back to back because of his Bills pick. But with the 49ers, for me, I end up going edge rusher here, another position of need. I mean, we could go. Really, I think we hit all three possible scenarios here at the
Yeah.
49ers. Um, those are definitely the three key positions. TJ Parker, one of the best players available at this stage. So that's who they go with there. And then back to back Clemson players. The Texans, I mean, just desperately need to address the offensive line. They continue to get worse and then somehow trade their guys away. Um, who's trading for them? It does not seem to make sense, but the Texans just need to figure this out. It is what is holding them back. I mean, their CJ Stroud's not going to progress any further if you continue to put rubbish out in front of him. So they this is a need pick, but also Blake Miller is a pretty solid value at this stage as well.
Yeah, I think they have invested a little bit in offensive line. Intern Tones has Georgia defensive tackle Kristen Miller. Uh, but for me, I think that they've invested a little bit in offensive tackle at this point. They gave Wyatt Teller some money. They brought in dude from Indy, Braden Smith. They got Trent Brown. So they Blake Fisher, a couple other guys. They've invested a little bit on the offensive line. I think at this point, if you just keep bringing guys in and they're not producing, it says more about coaching than anything. Um, so I think that um, they decide not to go offensive line here because personally, I don't have Blake Miller this high. I have him day two. Um, so I decided to go with CJ Allen. I think he is an incredible talent. Um, I think linebacker too, behind Sonny Styles. And I think middle linebacker is one of those where unless you are going to tackle a lot and are a known leader on the defense, you're not going to go very high. Hence why we're seeing Jacob Rodriguez not climb up too far into the first round, Jake Gilday, a few others. Um, CJ Allen, though, is a guy. And with him anchoring the center of the defense, which was a massive hole that they had last year, um, I think with that secondary and him holding it down, I think their defense can be legit. I think CJ Stroud has to take some of the accountability because when you look at some of his throws on the sidelines, he's elite. Like he can put it in the tiniest of holes on the sideline, but when he throws it up the middle, it just seems like it's always a pick. So some of the accountability has to be taken upon CJ Stroud for that. Not all of the offensive line. It's not all their fault. It is a lot of their fault, but it's not all their fault. So I think they go defense here, just taking best available. Um, is it? It's still me, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yep.
I went on a tangent and just forgot where I was. Um, Chiefs get a second first round pick here. Um, I think they go with South Carolina corner Brandon. Is it Cisse?
I think it is.
Brandon Cisse. Um, this is kind of the range where you kind of see him a little bit. I had him go offensive line. They desperately need a corner, so I have him going corner here. Um, with their second pick. Intern Tones kind of agrees with me. But he has them doubling up corner. And honestly, they would be pretty scary if they had Delane and Hood.
Hmm. Yeah, that would be pretty intense.
Can you imagine
I
that
mean,
upgrade?
losing both quarters to the Rams. I mean, that's how you fix it. You draft two of them in the first round. But I have a slightly different route here. I have them going with Cassius Howell, um, former Bowling Green, eventually Texas A&M edge rusher. He is a guy who really rose up the boards during this draft process. Definitely, at this point, the best edge rusher available. And this is another position of need for the Chiefs. I think the offense was what it was. It was a struggle, but I think really where they ran into problems was their defense wasn't able to cover up for it. They weren't able to get those late stops. Corner was one issue, and now edge rusher is the other. They need some more guys who can get the quarterbacks. And then going to the Dolphins, excuse me,
Yeah,
they go with
keep it in, dude.
they need a receiver. They don't really have much of it at the position at this point. I don't know what's gonna happen with Tyreek Hill.
He's
Jalen
gone.
Waddle got traded somewhere, I think.
Nope.
Um, no, not yet. Okay, but he might be. So they need a receiver either way. Makai Lemon, kind of an interesting one. It's going to be very interesting to see where he goes. Um, as I first flagged on our first mock draft show, I said, watch because he may interview poorly. And that is something that happens. So that's something that we may potentially see him drop. Again, it's not like if he's like a bad person or anything. So he's not going to drop super far for it. Probably not out of the first round. But I do think he goes a little bit lower than expected. And ultimately, the Dolphins are a team that is willing to go with him here because I mean, let's face it, the
Frankly,
Dolphins
they
just
don't
need
have
to
much
add
else.
they need to add talent in any way they can.
Intern Tones goes with Brandon Cisse. I said earlier that they needed a corner. Uh, he followed suit. Um, I have them sticking with defense, but I feel like it's more of a best available kind of thing. I have them going with Zion Young. Like I said earlier, I think they're gonna just get a bunch of guys on defense in the first round just to make sure that when they get their quarterback next year, that they have something to continue building around. Um, and I feel like Zion Young is a guy who can just jump in and be moderately successful for him because, frankly, that defense was just taped together for the past few years. And I feel like this is the start of a defensive rebuild, really a full rebuild altogether, but definitely a defensive rebuild as well with Zion Young. Um, moving down to the New England Patriots. This is where I see them taking Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I have him a little bit lower on the draft board than you, but not by a huge margin. Um, I think one of the things that the Patriots needed was kind of a guy to anchor it down in the center of the field, and that's exactly what they're going to get from McNeil Warren. Just stud guy. Who knows? Maybe they do win the Super Bowl next year, but statistically improbable because the loser of the Super Bowl ends up missing the playoffs. Um, so yeah, I have them going safety. You guys have a different opinion. Um, Tones goes Denzel Boston. I think that's a great pick. That's a really good fit. You have this
I
is
have
your pick
Omar
spot.
Cooper Jr. I was waiting for it to pop up, and then, of course, just as I start to talk, it does pop up. But yeah, Omar Cooper Jr., the receiver out of Indiana, top receiver available on the board at this point. We mentioned it before. He is an absolute stud. Just able to really do everything you need, and the Patriots need a top receiver. They don't have one at the moment. So, what is the one way? What's the one way you can take the next step? It's to get your quarterback a weapon finally, and yeah, Omar Cooper Jr. for sure is that
They did
guy.
get Romeo Dobbs.
Okay, okay. They got Romeo Dobbs. Everything's okay. No, they need a top receiver. Nothing against Romeo Dobbs, Nevada legend, but he's more of a secondary threat, not a top threat, which is what they really need. So that's what they get to go Cooper. I mean, again, this guy, helped his team win a national title at Indiana University. Still crazy to think about.
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers. Still crazy to think about. And yeah, I mean, he made some crazy catches along the way. Just really a guy that is going to continue to be a winner, I feel like. And then you go to the last pick here in my mock draft. D'Angelo Pons was the guy that ultimately I decided I wanted to get him up here in the first round. I think it makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
you see how he's played on the field, and then ultimately his measurables and workouts ended up panning out very well because I think that's where the biggest questions were with him. Just a long, tough, physical corner. I mean, that just sounds like a Seattle Seahawks corner. So
Yeah.
ultimately, that's where I end up having them go here. I think it's a literally a perfect fit. The Seahawks, losing some top corners as a result of the Super Bowl tax that anyone other than like the current dynasty at the moment usually faces. So yeah, this is kind of their way to try to stay on top.
Um. Also, they don't really have an owner because an estate owns the team currently, and the NFL has a rule that an estate can't own a team. So they're trying to sell at the same time, so they couldn't give anyone any money.
What
Um,
a what a great time to sell though.
yeah,
Oh my
fantastic time.
gosh.
That estate is gonna get 10 times richer.
No
Um,
stock is higher.
the intern has Zion Young, so he decides to go defensive line. I mean, I feel like it's pretty deep on corners, so I don't hate this pick by any means. I think that they need someone else because Mafe left, and I think this is actually a little bit of an upgrade. Um, but I agree with you, Justin. I went Avion Terrell, but I do think they need a corner. Witherspoon does a great job of holding it all down, but they need someone opposite him. And I honestly think Terrell is a step up from Kobe Bryant. So um, I think this defense can get a little bit scarier as well with Terrell here. But how crazy is it that Sam Darnold has a Super Bowl ring now?
I know. I mean, what a career arc that was.
Yeah, I so before the season started, I think he had turned 27, and I had mentioned prior to the season that Aaron Rodgers did that. I think Steve Young did that at 27. So like for some quarterbacks, it's the magic number where they kind of it just clicks and everything works for them. And he found the right situation in Seattle, and I said, do not be surprised if he has a hell of a season. Didn't expect him to win the Super Bowl, but he had a hell of a season. That concludes our mock draft. We took enough of your time tonight. So next week, no show on Wednesday because we have our not mock draft, our NFL draft episode.
It's time for the real thing.
So we'll see who is a winner and who is a loser. By the way, we have beat Mel Kiper most years. I think every year that we've done this.
Yeah.
That's not that hard to do, really. I mean, he complained for 5 rounds about Shador Sanders for every pick last year. Um,
Oh my gosh, dude! How many times do you think he's gonna bring up Shador Sanders making the Pro Bowl now? Like he is gonna dance on that the whole time.
yeah. Maybe
He's
ESPN
probably
will
gonna do
say
the
like
same thing about
don't mention it.
no, he will. He will. He does not care what ESPN says. So this is actually to turn it back here. Instead of watching Mel Kiper complaining about Shador Sanders going in the 5th round, watch us instead. We'll
Yeah.
be breaking the picks before ESPN does, anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, we've beaten Todd McShay even. I think the only analyst that we haven't consistently beaten is Peter Schrager, and it's because he's pretty much handed a list of everyone that's going to be drafted like a few days before. So his final mock draft is pretty darn close to the final thing. So I don't think anyone's going to ever beat Peter Schrags, but um, hats off to you, Schrags. But yeah, I mean, we do a damn fine job at this. And this is our Super Bowl because we talk heavily of college. We talk a lot of NFL. Though the years past, we have backed off of that just because the storylines haven't been as wild week to week as college has. Um, but I mean, like, this is our thing. So next week, tune in uh, here on YouTube. Maybe eventually X will get their stuff together and you can watch us there. But for now,
It looks like
us
you
on.
could. I mean, at least tonight it worked.
I feel like if you have an X, you automatically already have a YouTube. I don't know many people who don't have a YouTube.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of these will end up on wherever you get your podcast. I don't know if there's a time limit for that for next week, so we'll see. But yeah, send us your picks too. Just final thought. Send us your picks. Love to see other people's mock drafts, so send them to us. We will catch you guys next week. Peace.